Good afternoon and welcome to the City of Northport's program, Northport, A View from Here. I'm your host, Gene Matthews. With us today we have Cindy Mick, who is the planning director for our utility department. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you.
Brett Harrington, who's a senior planner with the City of Northport, and Ray Shimokubo, who is with Boyle Engineering, who are doing the engineering work and planning for the City of Northport. I wish to thank you all for being here. First question I have for you, Cindy, is when did the city buy the utility company? What did it cost? And what was the condition the plants, all the facilities were in at the time of purchase?
The city acquired General Development Utilities in December of 1992, and the acquisition actually was a citizen initiative. And the citizens of Northport realized that the General Development Utilities was not adequately meeting their needs, and felt like that the city would do a better job, and I think we have. The condition of the utility when we purchased it was in deteriorating shape. We still kid about all the duct tape that we saw and all the duct tape that was used, and I think we've done a really good job. The purchase price was $16.5 million to General Development Utilities, and we purchased it with a $28 million bond issue.
Okay, and what have you done to the facility since then?
We've made a big difference, and we're really proud of all the accomplishments that we've made in the last 6 years. Probably the biggest infrastructure improvements have been with the water treatment system. We've built a huge booster pump station along Price Boulevard on the corner of Price Boulevard and Haberland, and that has given us the ability to appropriately serve water to all the new developments out into the east. We've also upgraded our sewer system, completely refurbished our sewer system, have gotten into the reuse business, and we've also completely refurbished our water treatment facility. So now we're ready for the next step. Okay,
that sounds great. A few days ago I heard from someone, it was a complaint actually, that they didn't agree with or didn't want the large developers that are coming into the city to be adding or coming online at the expense of the city ratepayers. Could you comment on that?
I comment on that a lot because I get that same question for concerned citizens, and so I am happy to answer that, because the fact is that these large developments are paying for all the infrastructure to support their development. Give you an example, Bobcat Trail, which is a beautiful development off of Toledo Blade, and they paid for all the water lines, sewer lines, pumping station that they needed to support their system, plus they've paid for all the infrastructure to connect their system to our system, paid for all their hookup fees in advance, and is paying for the maintenance of the system as we need it. So they've been a tremendous asset to the system.
Are they also supplying land or anything for future sewer or water plants or any type of utility plants?
The same people that own Bobcat Trail have now own part of Panacea, or all of Panacea, and in that negotiations it looks like we're going to be acquiring some property. So yes, they do when they need to.
Okay, so your general statement is they pay their own way, and the ratepayer, the average ratepayer, doesn't contribute to that.
There has been nothing but benefits to the ratepayers in Northport.
Thank you very much. Brett, can you speak to the city's comprehensive plan and how it affects utility planning?
Okay, excuse me. The city's current comprehensive plan was adopted in January of 1998. It was also approved by the state at that time. Comprehensive plan is a state-mandated document that every community in the state has to prepare to guide the growth that's coming to each community. Specifically relating to utilities, we have a policy in our comprehensive plan that states that at the city's build-out, we will provide utilities, and that's water and sewer service, to every part of the city, with the exception of the Micah Estates and the conservation and open space areas, such as the Micah State Forest. The comprehensive plan also directed us to develop the utility master plan, and that's what we're here to discuss today. And the utility master plan in itself could be called a comprehensive plan for utility extension.
Well, I guess, how do you feel that the comp plan affects you in your day-to-day work? Does it guide you? Does it hinder you? Is it a good component for you to work with?
It's a very good guide for us to use. In fact, I think that one of the unique things that the city of Northport has done is to look at utilities as a whole for the city, not just utilities separately from the rest of the city. We think that we need to follow the city's comprehensive plan, which is the growth plan for the city, and that we're a service. We're the public service that needs to respond to that plan. And so we really was looking forward to working with the Community Development Department and trying to develop our master plan.
That's great. Brett, could you give us an idea why it's important for us to follow a plan like this? What are the benefits to the average citizen living in the city of Northport?
Well, the important thing with a comprehensive plan is the whole process. We start from day one. We try to get citizen involvement. As a matter of fact, for each of the, I think we have 12 elements in the plan, we had a citizens advisory committee for each particular element, including utilities. Again, it's our Bible, basically. It tells us, we get the idea of how we can plan for the growth that the city is going to experience.
Yeah. You had mentioned before the different areas of sewer and water. Are the estates going to be with water and sewer, or are those are the 3 and 5 acre tracts? They're going to remain on well septic,
remain on well and septic.
And that's because there's sufficient land to deal with any effluent or whatever.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Now I remember not too long ago, Philippi Creek still has a big pollution problem, and that was from the build out of the Philippi shore area there of homes right up to the Philippi Creek. I would say that from my perspective that's what you're trying to prevent. To keep our waters pristine and the Markahatchee Creek pristine, because that is part of our drinking water. So I think that the comprehensive planning and utility planning is a great asset to us. The city of Northport and you all discussed a $144 million project Monday. Give me a little rundown on that discussion and where you feel that's going to take you and to what year. And Cindy?
Certainly with the great growth that we've experienced in the city of Northport, we have a lot of challenges ahead. And like I mentioned before, we've put together the basic infrastructure that's needed to meet the next challenge, which is to keep up with growth and have adequate water and sewer for all the growth in the city, and to begin to extend services out to the other neighborhoods in the city of Northport. The $144 million worth of improvement certainly is an aggressive approach to meet the growth demands of the city. It would include such things as revamping our wastewater plant, beginning expansion to our already existing wastewater treatment facilities. We plan to expand that to a 3 million gallon a day plant, which is almost doubling that system to meet the growth demands. To expand upon our reuse system. We already have a good reuse system, but we know that we need to expand that in order to protect the city's environment. Also, a big portion of that is to extend water and sewer areas to the platted properties within Northport that do not have that service and where we don't have a developer that's willing to pay for those type of infrastructure needs.
Okay. I mean, it would seem to me that this kind of planning and this kind of development is far less expensive than a fix later on down the road, which will cost many times over, plus all the inconvenience and everything else. We'll be back in a moment, and we'll have more questions for our guests. Thank you.
Have you seen Northport lately? Take a minute and take a look.
We really do enjoy nature, and we found it all here, right in our own backyard. Love fishing and boating on the Mayaka. You never know what you might see out there. We toured the whole state of Florida and found that Northport had everything that we wanted.
There's a lot of natural beauty, and there's a lot of wildlife here. I love the open spaces. and I love the quiet.
If you're intrigued by what you just saw, pay us a visit and you'll see a lot more.
Welcome back to the second segment of Northport, A View from Here. Today we're discussing the utility portion of the city of Northport. And we're going to start off with Brett, who's the senior planner. During the discussions with the city commissioners the other day, we talked about a neighborhood concept. Could you elaborate on that so the folks back home will understand what's meant by a neighborhood concept?
Yes, sir. One of the important issues that was addressed in the comprehensive plan was the importance of our neighborhoods. In fact, we've divided the city up into 57 separate neighborhoods. Now, with this plan that you're talking about, not only do we want to extend water and sewer into specific neighborhoods, but why not at the same time make the neighborhoods better by bringing in amenities such as sidewalks, lights, landscaping. Do it all at once instead of coming back later on and having to redig the streets up to put certain facilities in. Well, let's do it right the first time and make Northport a better place.
I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the biggest complaints that people have about government is that they do one thing today and they come back and dig it up and do it again or do something alongside of it tomorrow. So that long-term planning, I think, is critical for the city. Now's the time for the city to do those kind of things. Cindy, I believe we're going to have some heavy construction over the next 7 years. What type of facilities are we speaking of building or expanding or adding to the utility system?
Besides improvements to the wastewater plant and the water plant, I think that the citizens are going to see a lot of construction out into the residential neighborhoods, and that is bringing water and sewer out to those neighborhoods. And as Brett touched upon on the neighborhood concept, we believe that as we do the improvements in the neighborhoods for water and sewer, that we can do a better job by bringing out all the street trees and bringing out sidewalks and bringing out maybe some, the bus stops or whatever those citizens in that community or whatever the citizens in that neighborhood want. And Brett will probably be the leader of that effort, and I think, well, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a really good concept.
You mean you may have a neighborhood committee that analyzes needs and submits them at the time of, whatever time is
We
applicable.
certainly, the number one goal is to give to the neighborhood what the neighbors want in that neighborhood. So citizen involvement is going to be an extremely important component to our project.
That's great. That's great. Ray is with Boyle Engineering, and they're doing the engineering work for this thing. 7 years seems like a pretty ambitious timeline for public facilities of any type at any time. You feel this is a reasonable time frame or too aggressive?
Gene, I believe what you have to look at, though, is the big picture. What we've identified in the master plan, is capital improvements for infrastructure and also for the neighborhood improvements. As Brett mentioned, there's 57 neighborhoods throughout the city. The master plan identifies 5 to 6 neighborhoods that would be improved over the next 7 to 8 years. So essentially, we're looking at how do you walk a mile? One step at a time, taking it piece by piece. This first segment that's been identified essentially only covers about 15% of the city. So aggressive? Not really. Realistic? Certainly. On top of that, what we've also established in Monday's meeting with the Commission, in the Commission workshop, is that we could even take the recommended priority areas in the utility master plan and take them step by step, i.e. develop portions of. Cut back on the program as shown. Take 30%, 60%, 100%.
I've been involved in government for many years, and it sounds unique to me. Is this a unique approach to comprehensive planning, Ray, Brett?
Not really. It's very systematic.
Well, I understand that, but are other communities doing this same thing?
Certainly. As an example, Cape Coral, who is structured in a similar manner to the city of Northport, has prioritized certain neighborhoods, similar to what we have done here, and are extending utility services, neighborhood improvements to those areas. So it somewhat mirrors that same philosophy, shall I say. What we have done here is we've taken as Brett has said verbatim from the comprehensive plan, and taken that criteria in order to establish how utility services would be supplied to the developing areas in the city.
Okay, very interesting. What do you view as your present role and future role with Boyle Engineering within the city of Northport? What do you plan to do?
Well,
or what are you supposed to do, maybe?
Supposed to plan on? Let me go back a little bit and explain that our assignments with the city started out on a very small basis, pretty much with just plan review through the community development department. And I say small assignment because at that time, this is a couple, 3 years ago, we might get perhaps a couple of reviews per month. And now we still maintain that assignment, and that level of activity has grown to upwards of 20, 30 reviews per month at times. So through that review process, we've also been able to assist the city in other departments such as road and drainage, certainly utilities. And I might add we're very thankful of that responsibility, of that participation, and we certainly hope that we will be able to continue that in the future and be part of the assisting the city in their future growth.
Well, I wish you all the luck in the world. Cindy, with all this planning that's going on, the construction and everything else, you need water to make it all come into a reality. Otherwise, the point is moot about building all these things. Where do we get our water now? How much do we use? How long will it last?
The city is a unique community and very, very lucky in that we have our own water supply right in the city of Northport, the Myakkahatchee Creek. So that's one water supply. We also have a second water supply, which is the Peace River, located through DeSoto County and has a plant in DeSoto County, the Peace River plant, that supplies water also to the city. We have a contract with them to supply us with water. And at the Peace River plant, they actually have a backup system, which is aquifer storage. And they're, during the dry times, actually store water underneath the ground that they can pull up for both of us and Charlotte County when we need the additional water.
Okay. What about future sources?
We'll be looking at different aspects of drinking water for future sources. Again, we'll look at augmenting our own water supply, possibly through aquifer storage. Ray and Boyle Engineering is actually conducting a study now with the city that's funded by the Southwest Florida Water Management District to look at aquifer storage.
Oh, that's great. A few years ago, there was, in fact, it was in the paper recently, the Peace River option. And it got to be a controversial issue between Charlotte County and the other members of that board and panel. Where do we fit into that equation?
Because we have such an adequate water supply at this point, we didn't need to participate in the Peace River option, but we are going to be talking to the Peace River plant people in order to maybe increase our allocation and be included in the next expansion of the Peace River plant.
And what's our current allocation from?
Our current allocation is 435 million gallons a year, which was a good way for the city of Northport to negotiate that contract because we're able to get water whenever we need it. It's not like a daily allocation or a monthly allocation. So if we're offline during a dry season, we're able to get all the water we need.
A few years ago, we used to supply the gardens of Gulf Cove with water, I believe. Are we still doing that, or is that something of the past?
No, when Charlotte County purchased General Development and Utilities, they built infrastructure to supply all of Charlotte County through the Peace River plant. What that did was that cut off some of our customers. So that was a negative for the city. But the positive aspect of that is the fact that now we have a water treatment facility that's actually designed for 4.7 million gallons a day, and that we only have a demand of about 1 million gallons a day. So we have good infrastructure at the water treatment system at the water treatment plant for future growth.
Did the
That's
mobile home parks take up some of the missing revenue?
Definitely. When we purchased Myakkahatchee Utilities, that did help us with the revenue problem that was created by losing those customers in Gulf Cove and in Charlotte County.
Okay, thank you very much, and stay tuned for Phase 3 or Segment 3 of Northport A View from Here. Thank you.
There's a rumor that small-town America has all but disappeared.
Life is great, Northport.
Northport is the last Mohican. This is the place. This is going to be the last undeveloped region. The city government itself is so pro-growth, and it's just like everything is in the right place at the right time for Northport. They're very open-minded, they're very honest, and they're very fair.
Disappeared? You've just seen evidence to the contrary. We call it Northport.
Welcome back to the third segment of Northport A View from Here. We are discussing the utility company of the city of Northport. We're going to start off with Ray. Ray, Mrs. Cindy Mick had stated something about ASR and the Aquifer Storage Recovery Facility and a role for that in the city of Northport. Could you just tell us what ASR is and what it will mean to us as residents?
Sure. ASR, again, Aquifer Storage and Recovery, very simplistically is storing water, in this case in an aquifer, underground, as opposed to storing water above ground in reservoirs or tanks. The significance of ASR in Northport is that the city's water supply, one of the city's water supply, the Myakkahatchee Creek, has water when it rains and does not have water when it doesn't rain, as simple as possible. Of course, the rainy season is much lesser than the dry season, so the significance of aquifer storage and recovery is to take water, to pump water out of the creek during the rainy season or the high flow seasons and store it in aquifers or underground reservoirs, essentially, so that it can be recovered for usage during the dry season. This concept is used at the Peace River Authority, and it seems to be very helpful, can be very helpful for the city of Northport, primarily because, as Cindy has mentioned, the city has a water plant that is currently not being used to its capacity. So the idea here is to take water, store up enough water, and use the plant to a greater capacity and to satisfy some of the future demands through the existing water plant and ASR.
Okay, and so what you're doing is you're forming a bubble or something under the ground of this treated water that we can reclaim later on?
That's essentially the case. You begin to develop a well by pumping water in, removing water, pumping water in, cycling the well, so that you essentially have a large bubble underground in the aquifer of good water, clean water. The feasibility, of course, is dependent on the amount of water that you can recover, the percentage of recovery. And that's, again, developed through cycling the well, pumping water in and removing it.
I would think it would be, the recovery would be greater than even an open watershed area or whatever, because you wouldn't lose anything through evaporation. So I would think it'd be a very efficient operation. Cindy, you know, when you deal with computers, you deal with the Y2K problem. If our computers crash, can we, the ratepayers, expect a free bill that month? For that year?
A few months ago, I was quite concerned about that because we are now in the process of upgrading our billing system to comply with the year 2000 condition. And the first try, the system didn't work very well, but I can proudly say now that in the last month we have readdressed that, have gone through parallel billing with a new upgraded billing system that is Y2K compatible, and that has been working very, very well. Our water system and our sewer system, we still aren't that high tech, that those are run by our operators. So those are basically manual systems. And any of the smaller computers that we have helping them or assisting them, they can easily be turned to manual very, very quickly.
As long as we're talking about computers, you talk about computers, they're either user-friendly or user-unfriendly. How do you rate your department?
I think we're quite friendly. When you still call Northport Utilities, we haven't gotten again so high-tech that you're greeted by a computer. You're greeted by, hopefully, a friendly voice always that's willing to help. And while we do rely on computers to keep an efficient account of everybody's account, we still deal with the public the old-fashioned way, face-to-face or on the phone.
Well, the old-fashioned way with government was to hold you at arm's length. The new paradigm is to be friendly and open just as you are.
That certainly is a goal of our department.
Okay. Ray, one of the other aspects of this plan is reclaimed water. Perhaps you just give us a little rundown what reclaimed water is, how it's used, the health factors involved with using reclaimed water, and also do we have an ample supply for the demand or vice versa?
Reclaimed water is essentially effluent from the wastewater treatment plant that receives further treatment, filtration, and high-level disinfection. Right now, the water is primarily used for irrigation, and it's a very common concept throughout the state. As far as supply versus demand, currently the city has only one user, the Sable Trace Golf Course. So there's at this point, additional supply. However, an interesting fact is that when water is demanded during the dry months is when the flows at the wastewater plant are also at their minimum. So there's somewhat of a constraint when it comes to supply. The city is also talking with the Heron Creek development for reclaimed water supply for their golf courses and residential. What we're finding is that between Sable Trace Golf Course and the Heron Creek Golf Course, the city will be pretty much where supply does equal demand.
Brett, what is the building projection for this fiscal year for the city of Northport? Because I know we're going to grow. There's nothing going to stop us from growing. All the elements are there. What do you see as for this year and next year? And when does the fiscal year start?
The fiscal year starts in September.
I thought.
Yeah. I believe last year we had approximately 800 housing starts. We're already above that rate now.
Oh, boy.
Approaching that rate anyway. Matter of fact, Northport is now rated the 26th fastest growing city in the state. Our current population is 17,672. We have developments like Heron Creek coming in. We have Bobcat Trail, which recently opened. Charleston Park's another major subdivision. We're doing work on our downtown area, trying to redevelop it. There's a lot going on in Northport, and it's going to continue to grow.
Cindy, we're getting near the end of the program here, but we've covered a lot of ground. Is there any last-minute items you'd like to talk about? We have about a minute left.
Just to thank you and to thank the citizens for taking an interest enough in Northport for watching this program, and to let the citizens know that if they have any questions about utilities, that they should feel free to contact our office, and we'll be happy to answer them.
And that phone number is?
426-9500, and that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Cindy, Brett, and Ray.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
And thank you for visiting with us today. This is Gene Matthews signing off for Northport, A View from Here.